Hey, Honeyboo. So, on today's segment, I was speaking on your life is not just yours. We've heard statement like, it's my life, so I'm going to live it the way I want to. You understand? There are many people that make those kind of statements, but I just want to use this as an avenue to remind us that our lives are not actually just ours. There are so many things involved in our lives. Like, first of all, our lives belong to God. That was why Paul said that is in Christ we live, we move, and we have our being. And again, their destiny is connected to your life. So you can't just live your life the way you would want to or the way you would please because every action you carry out today, if the consequence does not affect you, it will affect the people coming behind you, affect the destinies tied to your destinies. It will even affect the generations following you. And sometimes you're the only one that bears the consequence, but most times other people get to bear the consequences as well. Just like in the case of Noah in Genesis 9, verse 18 to 28. Ham, one of the sons of Noah, looked upon his father's nakedness. He saw that his father was naked and he went to tell his brothers. His brothers took care to ensure that they covered him and they ensured that they didn't look at him. They covered him backwards, like they went through their back. They used their back to enter the room to cover their dad, but Ham didn't do anything about it. He went to relate the story to his brothers. And when Noah found out about this, when he was sober and he found out about what Ham had done, what did he do? He cursed Ham's son. So the consequence of his action fell on his son, and not even. Welcome back, Honeybus, to the tutorial now. So now we're mixing our butter and our sugar. So what we're trying to do here is to cream our butter and sugar by hand. Remember on the thumbnail they said without a mixer. So we're just going to do this by hand. All we'll do is that we'll cream our butter and our sugar. We'll just try to combine everything together first. That is the essence of that is like basically creaming it. You combine the butter and the sugar till it gets pale and fluffy. So in case you love to bake or you wish to bake but you don't have the funds yet to get a mixer, then that shouldn't stop you from baking because you could always do it with your hands, even though mixer will be way better in terms of like speed and your effort and everything. But when you don't have the means, what you do, you make do with what you have. So now by hand, or even in case you even have a mixer or maybe power supply in your area could be an issue or anything, this is best to learn how to do it by hand. So in case of anything, your hands will always be there to function for you by the grace of God. So what we're doing now is that we're creaming our butter and our sugar together to achieve that pale color and to achieve the fluffiness as well. So it's this creaming is very essential because it will affect the turnout of our cake, like the texture of our cake. So if you want to get that really fluffy cake, you've got to cream. Like this is where it's taxing though, like it consumes your energy because you have to put in a lot of energy to get that color. If you notice our butter color is now becoming lighter, it's not as yellow as it was from the onset, it's now becoming pale, but we'll still have to continue to cream. I think I creamed this butter and sugar for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Give it 20 to 25 minutes before I could achieve that pale color and that fluffiness as well. So and if you notice the size doubles. It's no longer as it was when we began creaming. The size increases as well. So you just have to exercise a bit of patience and a lot of manpower. And now you see our butter is pale in color. It also looks fluffy as well. So that is the goal, to be able to mix it till it's pale as though it's white. So the next thing now is our lime. our lime is essential because this is what we use to preserve our cake. So first of all, grate the skin of our lime before we cut into the lime and squeeze out the juice, but we have to grate it very well. Then we cut it into two and squeeze out the juice from the lime. If you don't have lime, you could always use orange. This helps you in preserving your cake in case you don't have alcohol for preservation, or if you don't have any other preservative you would have loved to use, lime could always come through for you, or orange. Then we'll have our 5 eggs. Pour in our lime to our eggs. That's the best way to do it. Pour in your lime to your egg, then you put in your flavor as well. You pour in your flavor into your eggs. I'm using 2 teaspoons of vanilla butternut. The recipe for this cake will be in the description box down below. In the description box down below. So ensure you check it. So this is how we do it. After creaming our butter and sugar, we put in our eggs, but we begin yolk by yolk. This may not be what you're used to in case you've been baking before now, but you will go in yolk by yolk. This also affects what your cake texture will be like in the end. So ensure you follow this process. You don't have to pour in the whole eggs at once. No, that's going to make your cake come out strong. So you have to ensure that you go in with yolk by yolk before you will go in with the egg whites. So what we do is that as we put the egg, we'll ensure we cream very well. We'll cream it very well. Ensure that the egg enters, the yolk has combined with the batter before we put in the next yolk, and that is how we'll continue. So even though you have 20 eggs, the same procedure, one yolk after the other. So there are cases where your yolk could melt with your egg white. It doesn't matter. Just go with the yolks you can see before you add in your egg white. So you keep creaming, and even when you add in your eggs, your batter size increases as well. So you just keep on going with that. You keep on mixing with the yolks. Beat a yolk at a time before we add in our egg whites. And you remember our egg whites has lime in it, and it also has flavor in it. You could use any flavor you wish. I had vanilla butternut, that was what I used, but you could use coconuts. You could use coconut flavor. You could use whatever flavor, whatever suits your board at the time. Use any of it at all. So if you notice now, we're added in our egg whites and we're going bit by bit. We'll not pour in the whole egg white. We'll just take it with bit by bit. There, you could even decide to do a tablespoon after a tablespoon, but anyhow you want to go with it, but ensure you don't pour in the whole thing. It may look as though your batter is beginning to curdle, like there's a look your butter may have. Don't get worried about it. Just keep on mixing. That is what happens, especially when you're doing by hand. But what do? We just continue mixing. We don't get worried about the curdling. Though there's a solution to the curdle. If you don't like what you see, after every bit of egg white, you add in what flour. But here we're done putting in our egg whites, and my butter actually curdled, but I knew that it wasn't an issue. So I continue. You pour in your flour bit by bit and you fold. Don't pour in your whole flour, and fold it as you're putting in your flour. Don't you this time there's no need for energy again in mixing your batter. You don't have to mix. All you just have to do is to gently fold. The essence here is for the flour to mix in with our batter. That is what we're trying to achieve. The flour to mix in with our batter, because we're almost done here with mixing. So what do? You just gently fold the flour into your batter as you wish. So at this point, guys, please do subscribe to my channel. I love all the honey brews who have subscribed so far. Thanks to all those who have been viewing as well. To those who have been liking, thank you so much. But please, honey brews, ensure you subscribe. So now we've put in our milk. So this milk, we're taking it also bit by bit. In baking cake, you have to have patience. You don't have to pour in everything. Everything requires patience. You just have to go in bit by bit with everything you put, because how you mix your cake is going to determine the texture of your cake in the end. So you just have to take everything bit by bit. So now we're putting in our milk, and we're also doing what the same folding exercise. You fold, ensure everything is well incorporated in the batter before the next procedure. So now we're adding in our milk again. If you notice, I didn't pour everything into it. Once again, the recipe will be in the description box below so that you get the accurate measurement for everything, because measurement is another basic thing. If you don't have your measurements right, girl, boy, your cake's gonna be a mess, or it will not come out the way you are envisioning or you're expecting it to be. So you have to be very careful with your measurements, be accurate with it. So now after this, we're putting in our coconut flakes. This is like the last step. We pour in our coconut flakes and we fold again. We're not going to mix, we're just going to gently fold. That is the procedure. Once you've put in your flour, every other thing with it goes what's easy. You just have to go with an easy flow. Take it step by step, gently do everything. So now we gently fold and we grease our pan. Can I talk about greasing this pan for a minute? You've got to grease your pan very well because it's like coconut cake. My there, please ensure you grease it well. I didn't grease well, but please ensure you grease more than I did. So now we're taking our batter into our oven. So the batter was too much for that, so that's why I shared it into two pans. Now use a skewer to check. We have baked it, we're checking it to ensure that it comes out clean. That's how we know our cake is ready. And here is our cake, our coconut cake that tasted amazing. This cake was amazing. My sister was like, why is the cake so fluffy? Because the cake was really, really fluffy. Please try it and I hope you enjoyed it.